It is now, like, they walk through the door, they've got 7 BJJ black belts on the mat, they've got 3 UFC stars, they've got a Bellator star, they've got Cage Warriors title contenders, they've got European Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu champions. They genuinely don't know how lucky they are now, because when we were doing it back in the early 2000s, you were learning off VHS videos. There was no YouTube, you know.
Searching for people.
Yeah, you'd go to seminars when you could. It's all on their doorstep now. So
thank you for tuning in. And this week's podcast is sponsored by Effect Electrical for your electrical needs. He also specialises in car chargers. And also sponsoring this video is TEK Security. So for your security needs, check him out if you need cameras, gates, barriers, etc. Both their links will be tagged in the bio of this video. So head on over and enjoy the podcast.
Experience Real Podcast.
Rightio. Thank you very much for coming in, Rich. First of all, wanted to have you in today, just have a general chat really, and just see how you're getting on. And so you've opened up like a new gym now, and was it this year or last year now you opened?
It's just over a year, November, what are we in, 2019. So a big step, went really well. New Year was brilliant, January, February, and then obviously the madness started in March, and we were closed down then from March till August. We're back open now, obviously with restrictions, but it's going well. We're not as busy as the January to March period at the beginning of the year, but you know, we're busy enough. But we need normality just to start paying some bills, if I'm honest.
Yeah, that's it, mate. Well, I think, to be fair, like your unit, I've had a look like online and everything looks really professional. So I think like everyone's kind of going through the same thing at the minute, aren't they? So I'm like, I hope for you, you know, when things turn around now and it'll pick up again.
It couldn't have come at a worse time. Obviously, Jack signed for the UFC September 2019, so it was a real surge with the business. Moved into a new premises, we were like 3-4 months setting it up. Real purple patch up to Christmas, but then January, poof, you know, we like tripled our members from the original place. It is what it is, you know. It'll come and it'll go, and we'll still be here at the end of it with fingers crossed.
Oh, I'm sure you will, mate. And like come this January, I'm sure you'll have a bit of a pickup again. Like January is when you tend to get your members in and everything.
If they let us open, the thing is always, I think we're gonna have a fire break after Christmas again. So I think it'll be middle of January before we can open our doors.
Yeah,
that's my gut feel. I hope I'm wrong. But I just don't know at the moment.
It's disheartening, isn't it?
It is.
I hope like they kind of come around to the thinking of gyms are essential, because they really are, aren't they? Like
to be fair, the new tier system have allowed all the gyms to stay open in England, haven't they? So
they have, yeah.
Fingers crossed. But again, you know, we are predominantly a martial arts club rather than a fitness suite. So we need, it's all right for the elite level pros. We got signed off on them because we get them regularly COVID tested, and they say they live in, so they're allowed to train. But you know, you only do so many solo drills in jiu-jitsu and so many solo drills in Thai boxing. You know, we creatures where we need contact, and the sport we do, we need contact if we're going to evolve in it. So you know, it's all right for the top level pros, but you know, the amateur and the grassroots and the guys coming through, we need a little bit more freedom to do what we need to do.
Yeah, we don't want to end up like in years to come having that gap, do you? Where
no, you know, we've lost a year, haven't we, already? Yeah. So you know, let's get it back to normal in 2021. We can have some sanity, and somebody will, with a bit of rationale, will make a decision that's suitable for everybody, fingers crossed.
Hopefully, because like they've shown, haven't they? I think they've proven the transmission rates in gyms is like really minimal. So
we have like 100 odd a day through the door between the fitness suite and the classes, and we got a track and trace system. Everybody signs in, everybody's temperature checked. Everybody walks through our door, it's logged. We've got the barcodes up on the wall as well for the mobile phones, and we've had two students that have picked up a positive, but not from training gym. Unfortunately for us, they hadn't been to the gym for over 7 days. Leading up to that. So you know, if anybody's going to catch it, we should be catching it, because we've got good numbers coming through. Myself in particular, like in the day I work in a school, so there's 1,700 kids, 200 staff. You know, and we are adhering to the guidance by the government. You know, staff are in masks in corridors, in lessons. let's be honest, there's a lot of contact, a lot of chaos. You're interacting with lots of different people, and then I've got the gym, and I've had 10 COVID tests because of the UFC and Cage Warriors, and I've touched wood. I've remained negative every time. So
that's good news.
Long may it continue. Yeah. But we clean everything. People are sensible. If they are feeling ill, they stay from the gym. I'd say a pub or a restaurant is probably a far worse breeding ground for illness than a gym. Even before this, I think gyms were, we are conscious. We're mopping the mats every night because you're conscious of skin infections. The fitness suite, whoever was using it, wipe the machines down after they used it. It's just natural what people do in gyms. So I don't think it's a new thing where gyms are now clean and healthy. It's always been that way. So it baffles me sometimes, the rationale. Eat out to help out. So let's send them to McDonald's.
That shit pisses me off.
How about giving the leisure industry some incentive, saying, right, well, we'll pay somebody half their membership for 6 months.
Well, how much healthier
a lot better.
Are they going to be able to combat coronavirus when they catch it if they've been training in the gym?
Yeah, agreed. Agreed.
They're going to be so much better off than if they've had a few McDonald's because it's a lot cheaper. But
yeah, therefore,
it's nuts how they kind of pinned the blame on people going out too much, yet they were given incentives for you to go out. So, but there we are.
It's and none of the. I'm all about consistency in my life, consistency in the gym, consistency in training, consistency with the job. There's no consistency in the decision making.
That's right.
I'd love to sit down with some of these politicians in the assembly and I could pick holes in everything that they've made a decision on. I mean, I've got a caravan in Tenby. They shut every caravan park down, even private. But I got a caravan or a private park. There's probably less chance of me catching or bumping into anybody down there by being solo in a caravan
than being at home. Like it's the same thing, isn't it?
Shut the caravan parks down, but let's open the schools.
Yeah, I know. None of it like adds up, does it? And it doesn't.
They're not tracking tracing supermarkets. You can go in any supermarket. You haven't got to sign in. You haven't got to sign out. How many people pass through Tesco's or Asda?
I know, it's nuts, isn't it?
How many people have picked the tin of beans up and put it back down? And then I've picked that tin of beans up.
I totally agree.
It doesn't make sense.
I know. And it's really weird that you put your trust, don't you, in these people?
Yeah.
That they're going to make the right decisions. But there we are. We could spend hours speaking about that.
Don't start me off on
it. I picked up on something. You said you got a job in a school as well. I didn't know that. You work a day job as well?
Yeah, I work a day job. I'm a behaviour manager at Lanarkshire High School in Cardiff. So my entire role, I've been doing that for 12 years between different schools. Worked in Porthover, Undercut and Taff for a couple of years. I was in a school called Mary Immaculate in Ely in Cardiff. And I've been in this school now for 3 years. So the role just entails dealing with kids with behavioural issues, with emotional issues, with family issues. So I'm the central point for the police social services, and I don't teach, it's just dealing with vulnerable kids.
I bet that kind of ties in well with building relationships in the gym and vice versa, doesn't it?
Well, I got into the role because 12 years ago I was doing a lot of work with the youth offending service. So they were putting young lads that had come out of a young offenders institute who were at risk of going to prison, and they were putting them on 6 to 12 week programs at the gym, and we ran a brilliant turnaround. I think when we done the stats on the people that come to us, it was 97% never reoffended.
Really?
Yeah, it was a really good turnaround. But they've got to have that interest, in the martial arts. No good sending somebody who's got no interest in it. And the youth worker kept nagging, you need to go back to, because I left school with no qualification. Go back to university, do your youth worker course, and you'd be ideal working in a school doing this sort of thing. So I did. I went back to Open University, done it for a year. Quite a few jobs come up under a European Union funded scheme over in Rwanda, and I applied. And I was the least educated academically, but the skills I had from working with some challenging lads in the gym, to be honest, see me through, and I've been doing it for 12. It suits the gym as well. It's 8 till 3 every day, 39 weeks a year. The agreement I've had with every school for the last 2 anyway is that if I've got guys fighting on Cage Warriors or UFC and I need the week off, I take it off without pay.
That's cool, yeah.
So I've got a really good relationship with the head and the governors at the school I'm in at the moment, and they're very flexible with me, so it works. There's
a lot to be said for that in on its own, and that's cool. That's my role as well. Knowing the fact that I love seeing people who obviously got really busy schedules and manage it well, and it must take its toll, I suppose, time to time, doesn't it? But it is time consuming, but I enjoy it. I'd be a life. I enjoy the day job with the school, and I love the gym life.
I've just got to keep the balance happy with the wife as well. Hence the caravan saves my ass a lot of the time. But I've been struggling a bit this year. But the lockdown has proven to her that she's glad that I'm out a lot of the time, I think, because we got each other's doors when we locked up performance.
So yeah, I'll just keep you on the weekends. Yeah. Oh mate, yeah, I think you need that breakaway though, don't you, sometimes? And that's what everyone's missing this year, because I know, like, when you're stuck around the house, you're always looking at things you need to do, aren't you? And
yeah, she'll have me working, mate, don't you worry. So
yeah, keeping the list of tasks in front of you, is it? Yeah. So you got this new facility now, but I wanted to like take it back a little bit to like where it all begun for you with martial arts.
If we want to go back to the very beginning, I mean, as a young kid, I done judo when I was around about 8-9 years of age. Done that for a couple of years. Fell out of love with it. Played football then for most of my younger days.
Yeah.
Worked in a pub, and there was some doormen on the pub. One was a black belt in judo, one was a black belt in karate. A gentleman called Reese Long, who's passed away unfortunately the last couple of years, and a gentleman called Steve Ayman. They used to run classes 3 times a week. I suppose in those days you could class as a bit of mixed martial arts, because some stand up with the pads and boxing, and then we were doing some judo and very limited grappling. And I'd done that for quite a few years. You know, I was attending the classes regular, really enjoying it. And in my mind, I was like, oh, you're quite a tough nut. I can look after myself. I'm doing this 3 times a week. And I bumped into an old school friend, he trains with me even to this day, Steve Jane, who's like the most inoffensive guy. You know, he's a beast on the mat, but he's not an aggressive person by nature.
Yeah.
And I seen him on the leisure centre one day. We were both training. He said, "You still training with the boys? Yeah. Do you fancy having a grapple?" And I walked into this room 100% confident. Oh yeah, we'll have a grapple. And I was gonna have and he absolutely annihilated me. I mean, I was getting choked out. I was getting armbarred. I couldn't breathe. I felt like it was, you know, you see the old adage, if you're in with a good jiu-jitsu guy and you're unaware of the sport, you feel like you're drowning. And that's exactly how it felt.
Yeah.
Couldn't get my breath. So, you know, we've done this for about 3 minutes, and I've given up after 3 minutes because I can't breathe. He's submitting me endlessly. What are you doing? So it's jiu-jitsu. And that was my introduction to jiu-jitsu. So I started training at a traditional club. When I arrived there, the first day, it was a sparring day. And it was full of kids, if I'm honest, probably a handful of adults. I was about 29, I think, 28, 29 at the time. And there's a load of kids there, 14, 15. There was a very young Joe Duffy who was in the UFC who had a good... he was age cool. 14, 15, Joe would have been. And these kids who were doing 5-minute rounds were submitting me. And that sort of experience, and I've said this many times when I've had interviews, will make or break an individual. Even though I see it in the gym, somebody will come in, the ego won't allow them to deal with the fact that you need to learn the art. So I've come from there, frustrated more than anything, thinking, Jesus Christ, these kids have just annihilated me. I was genuine, I was on 14-year-old boys, submit me, you know? So you can walk from that situation, right, I'll go back to the doorman and I'll continue doing what we were doing there, or I'll lose my ego, and this is something I need to learn. And that was it. I started training 5 days a week. I was addicted to it. And my first competition after 6 weeks.
Really?
Yeah. I entered a novice tournament up in Hereford, a traditional jiu-jitsu tournament. I won that. And the adrenaline that came with that competition, because I was terrified. I remember going up there feeling okay, and then 20 minutes before I actually had to go on the mat, I could have quite easily have said, no, I'm going to go home now. I'm not going to do it. Force myself to do it. And the adrenaline after was like nothing. And I was hooked. That was it then. I was traveling around the country. I was driving up to Birmingham on a regular basis, training every night of the week. So like this class had gone in, I was there and everybody was there. Soon my level started catching up and surpassing a lot of the guys because of the commitment I put in on it. So started with traditional jiu-jitsu, started doing the old-fashioned no headshot MMA. And then I just progressed to, you know, MMA with headshots. And back in, I think 2007, I went to Germany. I got picked for the traditional jiu-jitsu British team, went out for the World Championships, and I took a gold medal out there. And I came back, and I just made a decision to open my own gym on the back end of that. Yeah, so 2008 is when Tulare Combat started, which is now Show Mixed Martial Arts. So when we started looking for a venue, there was a nightclub. I don't know if you boys probably too young to remember. There was quite a famous nightclub in Apley called the Arena. Right. Quite a notorious place, you know. But underneath there's a couple of rooms under the cellar, and I approached the owner, and he gave me a 8-meter by 4-meter room, and that was our first gym. We had about 12 of us in there training. Soon that was like 20, 25. I then took on a little unit after 12 months, actually on the same site where my new gym is. We were there for a 12-month, and then we moved to Blaine, and we were there for 8-9 years, and then obviously the success with the lads getting in the UFC has meant that we moved into what I would call now a state-of-the-art facility.
That's wicked, isn't it?
Yeah,
like it's mad, isn't it? Starting in like a
12 years. It was 12 years from starting off under a little cell, probably twice the size of this studio, to where we are now. So it's not a long time. 12 years. It seems it. If you say what you're going to do in 12 years' time, it seems a lifetime away. But it's gone in a flash.
That's a lot of growth, isn't it?
A lot of growth, and 2016, Marshman got in the UFC, so I was a big thing for the club. And it was justification for all the sacrifice we made. We'd gone out on the road, we were competing on all the domestic shows, and our reputation built, and we are where we are now. One of the most successful in Europe at the moment.
Yeah, I can remember like Jack getting into the UFC and whatever, and it was like a massive thing
huge,
locally around here, wasn't it? Because he's one of the first Welsh guys.
I'd even go. I think after Jack won his debut back in 2016, you've got to argue he's one of the most recognisable faces in Welsh sport. He's invited down to the BBC Sport Awards. BBC News were doing interviews. HTV News were doing interviews. BT Sports were doing. He was with Ricky Hatton doing a breakdown of some UFC bouts and boxing. So it really lifted. I think everybody's views and knowledge in MMA, whereas a lot of people, we're still far from mainstream, but I think in Wales now we've got a really good following for the lads that are doing well, like Sir Brett, Jack Marshman, Jack Shawn, and John Phillips, even Lou Long at Bellator, Mason Jones now who's just signed for the UFC as well.
I bet for the boys in the gym as well, it was a bit of a lift because they could see where they could go, wasn't it?
For me, it was just such a justification of, I'll tell you straight, I'm very, my wife will say I'm controlling, I've got to be in control of everything, but that's just how it is. And it's worked because I've brought in different coaches, but I've always remained the boss, and it's been my way. And if people didn't like it my way, I was always the first to say, well, you need to find another gym because this, and I had faith in what we were putting in place. And I really, I used to say to them all the time, if you stick with us, we're going to get somebody in that UFC and then it'll explode. And I was bang on. Once Marshman got in, the door started opening for quite a few individuals. Cage Warriors has been a massive help for the area, mind. They have given televised bouts at the next level down from Cage Warriors, and a lot of them guys are moving on, to bigger things with the UFC. So it was just such a justification. When he got in, it was like, yes. And it also, as you said, everyone in that gym was saying to us, we're at a place where this is now an achievable dream.
It's possible, isn't it? Yeah. It opens a door in their minds,
yeah,
isn't it?
Of course it does. Of course it does.
Like, there's something to be said, I think, for someone like yourself now who's took it on board of this is the way it's happening and sticking with it, even if you don't really know. You, in your head, but like no one else believes it. But just sticking with your gut, innit? I think it's so much.
It is, and the results domestically were, we had Chris Edwards was the first one to sign the Cage Warriors, and he was setting out. We had Martin McDonough was up there like top 10 in the European rankings. Marshman was BAMA champion. He then went on to be a Cage Warriors champion. We had a real strong core lads at that time competing, but also like the youngsters coming through. I had a lot of young boys, like our Jack was, for example, a couple of the younger lads coming through. And then more and more people were seeing what we were doing on the local circuit. So that, success obviously attracts extra fighters then. So, no, it's great. When we look back, we started off with a team of 12, and we've got a team of in excess of 100 now. So,
but it's mad, isn't it?
It is mad.
You've got to sit back sometimes and take a look
when you reflect on it, it's like, it's mind-blowing in such a short period of time as well, 12 weeks, And now we got a gym, the count, caters for everything. Like if you come there on a Monday or Wednesday, we've got UFC stars mixing with 15-year-old prodigies coming through, mixing with 50-year-old men that are just there for a little bit of fitness and self-defense, with elite-level BJJ fighters who've got no intention of doing stand-up or MMA. So it's a real mix of characters. We got school teachers, we got accountants, we've got ex-prisoners, fire service, we have police occasionally coming through, all training under one mat. And it's brilliant for these youngsters to come through, because when they look at some of the lads that have been borderline going to prison and looking how successful they are now, it keeps them on the right track. It keeps them on the right track. It gives them an aspiration and a dream to aim for. Yeah,
that's why I like Sean coming in here with the BKB, because obviously he's had like tough times for his life and whatever, and he was interesting as well, how he's kind of like turning himself
Sean's
around.
a good guy. I've known Sean since he was a young lad, and he's always been, Sean's as tough a man you'll ever meet, you know. And I think if he'd stuck at MMA, he'd have been a really successful MMA. You know, he had his tough times, which he's open and honest about, you know, with prison. But since he's come out, you know, he's got a young family. He's living with his girlfriend, his two little girls. He's ploughed 110% into the BKB, and his success is justified, you know. And he's a different guy now. If you speak to him now to when, you know, if you've known him when we knew him 10 years ago, he was a wild character, Sean.
Yeah.
He's still got a wild side to him now, but, you know, he's channeled it in a really positive way. And, you know, he's fighting it tonight, and I wish him all the best. He's somebody that I always want to do well.
Yeah, me too, mate. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him, and I hope he wins as well. Like, you know, he's a great guy. So, yeah, that's, it's mad, isn't it? It's a mad sport, though, isn't it, the BKB?
Yeah, Sean trained with me at the traditional club I was on years ago, so he'd done some MMA. He fought on a few cards that I fought as well. Yeah, Sean's fought MMA.
Yeah.
I think he won the grappling strike welterweight title. I'm sure he did on the same card as me. He won the British title in MMA, so, you know, he's been around a long time, Sean.
Yeah.
He's a good character.
I've seen some videos of you online. It looked like it was MMA, but it was like an open mat.
On a mat, yeah. That would have been 2001, 2002, and that's what MMA was back then. You know, there's no cages in the early days. It was open mat space. Then they started bringing in boxing rings, and then I remember Cage Warriors and Ultimate Combat, which were leading shows back then. You know, Cage Warriors still the biggest now, but Ultimate Combat, they had cages, and you couldn't wait. You know, it was a real novelty. It was a rawness back then, you know, because nobody knew what it was unless you were involved in it.
Yeah.
It was exciting, you know. I remember ordering all my kit from America because you couldn't get anything in the UK. And I say to the kids now, you don't know how lucky you are. You know, I'd have to travel everywhere to go and get tuition. Whereas now, like, they walk through the door, they've got 7 BJJ black belts on the mat. They've got 3 UFC stars. They've got a Bellator star. They've got Cage Warriors title contenders. They've got European Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu champions. They genuinely don't know how lucky they are now, because when we were doing it back in the early 2000s, you were learning off VHS videos. There was no YouTube, you know.
Searching for people.
Yeah, you'd go to seminars when you could. It's all on their doorstep now. So I think in another 10 years, I think you'll see some real dominant MMA fighters coming through the system.
It's like a new breed as well now, isn't it? Of, like, it's mixed from the start.
It is. A lot of guys from the early days, like me, I come from a traditional jiu-jitsu background. You'd have guys coming from kickboxing. So a lot of the early events were similar, you know, even the grappling strikes back in the day was similar to the UFC events, where you'd have one-dimensional fighters and, you know, all competing against each other. So now, like, Jack Shaw's a perfect example. Somebody who from a very young age has learned every art. And is a complete mixed martial artist. You know, he's not a weak side to his game. He's not weak on the floor. He's not weak in the wrestling. He's not weak in the striking. And there's a lot of guys coming through. You know, Mason's a perfect example. He's come through as a kid that's been doing it a long time. A lot of youngsters coming through the circuit, not just from my gym, from various gyms that have only known mixed martial arts.
Yeah.
You know, they train all the different aspects, but they're in a place now where they can all be put together. And it's some real savages on the circuit. I think are going to be big names in a couple of years.
I bet, yeah. Like, for your gym now and, like, for the local area, I bet it's great for these kids to have the option, isn't it? Because, like, well, there's just nothing around years ago, was there?
Yeah, and it's lovely to see some of the youngsters, you know, they're starstruck when you see the UFC lads in. But I keep saying to them about, you know, being fortunate. It's like the local football team, I say Apple Lady football team or playing a football team, having an opportunity to play with a Premiership, or train once or twice a week with a Premiership level
That's nuts, isn't it?
footballer. You know, it doesn't happen in any other sport.
It's mad.
It's surreal. It is surreal. I think you see some of these kids, like how Jack takes a junior MMA class, and you can see he's got him eating out the palm of his hand because they're starstruck.
Yeah,
I suppose I suppose it's similar to, I know, Ryan Giggs turning up at the local football club and saying, right, I'm going to take a session.
You just don't see it happening that way around, though, do you?
How these 9-10-year-olds are going to develop if they stick to the sport, it's going to be scary, I think, in 10 years' time.
Yeah, it's one of the fastest, like, developed sports, isn't it? Like, I think
we need a bit of mainstream, don't we? I mean, it's on BT Sports, but still, you know, you'll see McGregor will pop up on Sky Sports News occasionally, but it's few and far between. Like, I'd love to see, you know, particularly ITV Wales or BBC Wales, you know, touching on these stories a lot, you know. When Marshman got in and when Brett got in back in 2006, there was a real media surge with it, but I just feel it's flatlined, and I don't know, I can't work out. And for me, it is one of the it's one of the most watched sports in the world. You know, if you look at the viewing figures, I think UFC now has overtaken NFL as the highest watched sport worldwide. So why the UK is still not buying into that? I can't wait why Sky Sports haven't got involved, or even one of the terrestrial channels.
Yeah,
you know, just showing highlights. It doesn't make sense.
Everyone like my age, like Al now, for example, like we're obsessed. Do you know what I mean? I think once you start watching it, nothing else quite compares.
Yeah,
like, in my opinion, it's just. I don't know, something so raw about it, innit? Just, and I think like,
but you know, people say, "Oh yeah, it's massive." It's not massive. Like I work in go back to my day job. Then working in a school, 200 adults here working, and I'll guarantee you, probably 180 have no idea what MMA is.
yeah,
Genuinely, you know, a couple have been in staff and go, "Oh, somebody said that you run." Oh yeah, my niece does taekwondo. Do you know what? It's a totally different sport.
Yeah.
They have no understanding of it. No
do you do
understanding.
UFC? That's what people are asking it. Like,
That's my favourite. Do you do UFC? Yeah.
And that, to be honest with you, it's only really like I got on board probably when McGregor started popping up.
McGregor's been great for the sport. He's brought it into the households. You know, anybody that criticises McGregor needs to have a look at themselves, because a lot of these lads have got, you know, the new generation are aspiring to be like him. He's brought into the mainstream. Ireland, it's a mainstream sport now. There's no ifs or buts. You know, you talk to anybody in Ireland, they all know what MMA is. We need to put that into the other three nations, Scotland, England, and Wales more so. The only thing that does get my gears, everybody's trying to be like McGregor. You know, be your own person. If that works for you and it's natural, you know, like we've got Oban Elliott at our gym, and he's brilliant with the tongue. You know, he's sarcastic, he can be very sensible, he can trash talk, but it's natural and flows.
It's not fake though, is it?
You know, I always use Jack. Imagine how Jack trying to trash talk. It just wouldn't work.
It's just not who he is though, is it?
It's not.
And to be honest with you, like, all the respect for him staying how he is, because you can easily like think, oh, if I do this, I'm going to get more money or more fame and stuff. But you just
Cage Warrior's done a brilliant job of marketing him as he is. You know, boy next door, the local valley boy that's come good, that's humble, hasn't forgotten his roots, still lives. He still lives in that place. He's still training, and I think there's a story to that. You know, there's a lot of people move into bigger gyms constantly thinking, "Oh, we've got to go to America, or we've got to go to London, or we've got to try one of the more big established gyms." And we've proven we've got a formula that works. You know, you look at my place now. 3 guys in the UFC. It's unbelievable. There's 4 of them in Wales, and 3 are training out of the gym. Lou Long visits us regular for sparring from Bellator, who's probably outside the UFC the most high-profile fighter we got in Wales. I just think it's great that he's brought up in the valley, trains in the valley, lives in the valley, and he'll remain that way, I think, until he dies. So, you know, he's not going to change, and I think that's why the local community of so many have got behind him. I mean, sold the Ice Arena out, 4,500 tickets.
I was there that night, the last fight before the UFC, and it was amazing. It
was the atmosphere. I said, I've not been to a UFC event apart from in Dublin that's even come close to that atmosphere.
Yeah,
it was off the chart when it was
crazy in there.
Mental.
Like, you couldn't believe it at the end.
You know, just to see how the nation came together and got behind him, unbelievable.
Yeah.
We'll always be grateful for that, because, you know, there's people there spending hard-earned money that we've never met that have turned up to sport, and it's just brilliant.
The thing is, though, I think he is like relatable to people, isn't he? You know, and that's...
I think so, and he's approachable as well. You know, we went to a bloody show in a Cage Warriors event in London, Night of Champions. And it's hard work getting up the building, because I still think of him as Jack, you know, and anybody that knows him, I don't think of him as somebody that's famous, you know, but until you go out to the areas, you do appreciate a little bit just how well known he is now. You know, people starting, can I have a photograph? It was non-stop training. We parked a car like 200 yards away. It took us about an hour to get there.
Never again, is it? Mate, it's good though, isn't it? It's good, like, you know. To be honest with you, that has drawn like me and my mates in more, knowing that there's someone local who's doing it, and it's just great to see, isn't it?
It is, and like I say, you can relate to it. I mean, what we got in the South Wales Valley is not a lot. You got your rugby teams. Not a lot of them are successful since the regional development. So I think it's given them, you know, since Joe Calzaghe, at the peak of his career, we've been looking for that Welshman to try and, as a nation, get behind. So fingers crossed, you know, we'll have a bit of success with Jack. You know, Brett's just signed for Bellator as well, and I really believe in 18 months he's going to be world champion there.
He's definitely got the capability.
Yeah, and I think the country will come together and get behind him with it as well.
Yeah, because who was first Welshman in UFC? Was it Brett?
Marshman was the first one signed. Brett signed like a couple of days later. So on the statistics, Marshman's the first Welshman to be signed with the UFC. Brett was the first to fight because he was earlier on the card in Northern Ireland. So Brett's got the accolade of the first Welshman to fight on a card, but Marshman the first one to be signed.
Yeah, no, that's wicked though, isn't it? And it's great that, because Brett wasn't always training with you guys.
Brett trained down in Swansea with Chris Rees for years and years. Came over to us. It's got to be about a year ago. Him and Jack have always trained. Like our Jack have idolised Brett since a very young age, and Brett's been brilliant with him, been a real role model for him. If you want a role model in MMA, if somebody who on how to act, Brett's your man. Do you know what I mean? He does everything. He's approachable. He's great on an interview. Always got time for people. He conducts himself well. Trains like a Trojan. Turns up. He's humble in defeat, humble in victory. He's a real role model for everybody. Been a great asset to our team, and just you could sell tickets to watch him and Jack spar. Yeah. They just raising each other's game constantly. He's a real good asset. And I think, when you see him fight in Bellator as well, I think the fact that he's been training on a daily basis with Jack, you see another level to his game as well now in Bellator. And I think they're in for a shock, some of them bantamweights over there. I think
I think he's going to do well.
I think a few of them fancy their chances, but they'll see a different side to his game a little bit as well.
Yeah, I can't wait. I don't know if is there any news on Bellator? Have they done any events in the UK yet?
No, they've done one the last one was in Paris, and again it was a closed door event.
Oh, I think I've seen Lou Long's fight on
Lou was on there. Ross Houston, who was a former Cage Warriors champ, was on there. So I just think the nature of the game is going to be behind closed doors events until this vaccine comes in and we're allowed crowds back.
Yeah, it seems that way, doesn't it? And yeah, it's nuts, isn't it? I think they probably won't let you in unless you've definitely had it as well.
Yeah,
there's going to be some sort of card or something in there.
I think we'll all be badging it to having it one way or the other. I don't think you'll be allowed out of the country without it. I don't think you'll be, as you said, allowed at public events unless you've had it. How they're going to manage and police that, I don't know, but I think that's what's coming.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you see it like in America now. I think they've got like Amazon stores or something where you go in, pick up what you want, walk out, and it charges you as you walk out the door. Like you don't even have to like tap your card or anything. There'll
be no choice. It'll only be fighting left for a few months before long because the computers will be doing everything else. I think.
I know, you won't have to do anything, will you?
Yeah.
That's the one company that's doing all right at the minute is Amazon, isn't it?
Amazon,
Since all this,
record sales, isn't it? Bloody hell. We should chuck a couple of bottles of sponsorship.
I know, hook the boys up, innit?
Yeah, Amazon, if you're listening, you're looking to sponsor a local MMA team, drop me an email, richardshort@yahoo.com.
It's class. Yeah, mate, it's... No, I'm glad it's like going well for you as well, and I think like you're only going to go like strength to strength with the gym, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, disappointing. It's been a bad year all around. I mean, so we were due to fight in London in March. And a week before, I think it was 6 days before the event, lockdown hit. Yeah. They cancelled the event. So Marshman and Jack Shaw were due to fight there. Brett was due to fight 2 weeks later, cancelled, no fights. So then there's a lockdown. We're waiting on permission to let the pro athletes train. We finally had that come through. Then it was Abu Dhabi. That was, people say, oh, it must have been it wasn't a brilliant experience. It was a drain. Drive to London, isolate for 48 hours in London, in a hotel room on your own, not even with your teammates. Security patrolling the hotel. Yeah. If you're caught outside, you're sent home. If your test was negative, put straight on a bus, shuttle to a private entry in Heathrow Airport, onto the Emirates plane, fly over, shuttle straight to the hotel, you test it, put it in your room, another 48 hours. So... in essence, it's 5. If you take into the flight and the travel, it was 5 days of isolation, which means 5 days of no running. And a week before fight, this isn't ideal. 5 weeks of no running, 5 weeks of not having an ideal situation for your food. Couldn't do no pad work, nothing. So these boys are in the room doing skipping, doing circuits, and it affected both. It was a tough weight cut for Brett and Jack. Usually we got it on point, but it was. For Jack Shaw in particular, who relies on that running in the lead up to a weight cut. It was as always a profession, we made the weight, but it was a tough cut. Couldn't do a lot out there. He was in a bubble. It was boiling hot outside. I mean, literally, you would walk outside and within 2 minutes you start sweating. So it's not like you could go sightseeing or viewing anywhere. Yeah. So it was a case of once I was up, it was training hard, working twice as hard as you normally would, trying to get the weight on point. Then there's no sauna. You've only got these zip up, seen steam
Yeah,
bags
yeah, the
you can
sauna
buy.
suit things.
So you've got this sit in. Again, they're not ideal because there's steam, and it gives you a false sense of how much sweat has come off. Like in a sauna, it's a dry heat.
You can see.
So I can see if you're wet, I know you're sweating. So then we've scrapped them. Right, let's get in the bath. And the last pound for Jack, it was never ending. But the experience as a whole, it was a once in a lifetime thing. We made history, part of the first ever fight island. It's great. Goes another thing to go on our record books. And I suppose as a resilience theory is Jack and Brett will never have another week as tough as that. I don't believe.
It shows everything.
I don't know. We came away two fights, 2 wins. The end result, absolutely brilliant. So that's great. We've come from a high. They then set Jack up for a fight November the 7th. He turns up to the embassy. I said he was in the embassy with Kelbrook, the boxer, who just recently fought. They sat in the embassy waiting for the visa application, and someone was coming out and just kicked everybody out of the embassy. So no rhyme or reason, no excuse. Everybody needs to leave now. We were then told August 2021 would be the next appointment.
What? That's mental.
So UFC pulled some strings, managed to get us a visa appointment. I think it was the 2nd of November. He was due to fight on 7th, so we had to pull that. So then they replaced him on the 21st card. We had 2 or 3 opponents. We agreed to everyone. Then there was a injury or a reason why they couldn't fight. And literally we were like 8 days out, and I've pulled the plug. I said, listen, if you can't, they just couldn't find him anyone. Yeah. And by that point, because he was due to fight on the 7th, he was in camp 15 weeks of dieting, training 6 days a week. It takes its toll. Sooner or later, you've got to say enough's enough. So we pulled on that again. That was another disappointment for 2020. It's been a bad year. Brett had a nice positive. People may see it as a negative, but for us as a team, it was a real positive. It was our choice. UFC offered him a contract. We weren't happy with the details of the contract, so we tested freedom of it's called freedom of contract, where you can go to other organisations. You'll get an offer off those. You've then got to give the UFC an opportunity to match it, or they've got to allow you to leave. And Bellator, I won't talk the money, but Bellator came in and doubled what the UFC had offered. It was an incredible, it's a life-changing offer for him. Yeah,
definitely.
After if he sees out this contract, he can live comfortably. So I'm over the moon that he's got that. He's a good lad. He's, like I said, he's a role model in the sport. Nobody works harder, and I'm over the moon. And at the end of this contract, he's 28, I think, so he'd be 30. Should he be Bellator champion, there's such a bargaining tool then if the UFC did want him back. But I think Bellator will look after him, and he may not even want to go back to the UFC. So
they seem to, don't they? They seem to do really well with their fighters. So
he's Brett's had a real positive there. And we're hoping now for beginning of March for both guys, Jack in UFC and Brett in Bellator. I
suppose it's handy try and match them up, is it? So they're both like at the same stage.
Yes, it's a good training camp then. If we can get them 2 weeks apart as well, it means that we fly out with Jack for a week, or Brett, whoever's first, and we come back, finish off the camp then with... Fortunately, we got a good team of coaches, and we got a lot of experienced pros. So if me and Carl disappear for a week, and Carl's my assistant coach, huge impact on the gym since he's been there. There's plenty of lads that can hold the fort for a week or so, so it's not the end of the world.
I think one of my mates used to train with him a little bit. Scott Lewis, I don't know if you ever heard of him. He's
over in Blenavon.
Richie, is it? Do you know Richie, who trains over there?
Richie, Rich, the wrestler. Rich, still going now.
Yeah, he's classy, he is.
Hip replacement, and still, in his 50s, and still, he's 60, Rich, is he? 50?
Probably.
He's probably 60.
I'd love to speak to him in here, because I used to train up the
He'd have some stories,
he's great, he is, and you
great
just
guy,
see him doing his own thing.
And he's still on the map with the youngsters, having you've got to look after him with his hip, but you don't want to let him get over your collars if you've got the gear on. At 60, he'll still choke you unconscious.
When I was training at the Manor at the gym, I was just lifting weights and everything, and he'd always try and just do like a bit of wrestling. Like, he's help me out with this, but I think he was always trying to entice me. Oh, come up. Like,
he's a good guy. He's a nice fella. He's still going, so fair play to him. But Carl has brought like 20 odd years of experience in wrestling, MMA and judo, and he's taken our, not just our offensive wrestling, our defensive wrestling. He's very, very, like myself, old school MMA based. And he's a huge reason why we got such a successful team. I don't discount Carl's input at all. He's he's been absolutely brilliant for us.
Yeah. No, that's good, isn't it? It's good. Like, that's what it's about, is the structure, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah, we got a guy from your neck of the woods, from Crick Owl, Crew Heem. He's from Thailand originally. I don't know.
I've met him before. He lives in Cumdee, doesn't he?
I'm not sure. He's from. I think he's moved now to Hereford, but he's Crick Owl guy originally. But here's another story. I'm taking a Tuesday night class, which I was striking, and this little fella turns up. Like, he's not the biggest guy in the world, Keem, and he's with this older guy from Crick Owl, and he said, "Oh, hiya, mate." He says, "My mate's moved over from Thailand, and he's looking to do a bit of coaching." I said, all right. I said, what experience you got? And he goes, I was one of the head coaches at AKA Thailand. I'm thinking, Christ, that's one of the biggest gyms in the world.
Yeah.
So I have it regular, I have every boxing coach come in and offer. They're full of shit, and so I was like, yeah, whatever, mate. So AKA, yeah, trained for years, I've had any, 130 pro fights. And I'm thinking, oh, really, mate? And you've landed in the valleys. I'm not having it, I said, what's your name? So I still can't say his name. He said, Somkiat Chachu. He said, but they call me Heem. H-E-M. What I'll do, he said, I'll write my number down. I said, well, listen, come along next Tuesday, take the class. If I'm happy, we'll work something out. If you're happy, great. If you're not, nothing ventured, nothing gained. So he's walked off, and I'll be honest, like one of the guys, who's actually some bullshit. He's come from AKA Thailand. So anyway, I didn't take his number. I give him my mobile. Me and Jack go home, because Jack's still living with me at the time. He just type that guy into Google, see what comes up. I type in it to go, and it's like page after page starts coming up. He's like with Mark Hunt and Mike Swick and quite an array of UFC stars, and find his record 120 plus professional Thai fight. Oh Jesus Christ! I didn't take his mobile. I'm thinking the only way to
find this guy.
Yeah, the only way to explain it is like being the coach of our lady football team was playing in like the Gwent County League. And me not realising Jose Marino's turned up and said, "Hey mate, do you want to come and give you a hand with your coaching?" Whatever. It was that level. So fortunately, this was on the Tuesday. I'm flapping by Friday because he's not rang me, and I'm saying to Jack, right, we're gonna have to drive to Crick Owl, wander around, start saying to people, "Do you know this little Thai guy? Have you seen him? Have you seen him around anyway?" Because I thought it can't be many Thai guys living in Crick Owl, right?
There wouldn't be many, no.
So fortunately, on a Saturday, he drops me a text. We still go for Tuesday. Yeah, brilliant. Got his number, sorted. He comes, and just watching that first session, I knew that he was a world-class coach. Just see it. Absolute, the technique. And I'm as finicky, I'm always analysing. When I'm away with the UFC, I'll watch somebody warming up and I'm picking holes or paying compliments on technique and how they warm their fighters. So I'm watching this guy like a hawk, and for an hour and a half, he had me mesmerised, and I was thinking, we've had a result here. So I'm like, right, do you want to do this regularly? Yeah. And he's been such an asset. He's been with me now. It's got to be 2.5, 3 years maybe.
Yeah.
And the level of our striking has gone up tenfold. Just brought a huge. So between us, Carl has come in. He's brought the wrestling up. Heem has come in, brought the Thai and the striking up, and he's very MMA focused as well. Heem, so he studies MMA, does a bit of jiu-jitsu, so he understands what will work and what won't work. And I just think we've got a complete setup now, all under one roof. But he is, again, he's been a godsend, and he's a character, He's got that proper Thai culture about him, but he's good crack. He gives the boys hell, but he's been a brilliant addition to the team. So, at the moment, coaching staff, I wouldn't change him for anybody else, and that's genuine. I would not, because the formula fits, Is there better striking coaches out there? Maybe, but would he fit into our way of thinking? I don't think
it's massive.
Is it better wrestling and MMA? MMA coaches and Carl, possibly. Would he fit into our mindset and our way of thinking? I don't know. Are there better jiu-jitsu coaches than me? Yeah, there probably is. But I believe the mix that we've got now, we put it all together. I put our team now against anybody in the world. And that's not me being big-headed or being above my station. I've been around. I've been doing the UFC for 4 years. I've been in these changing rooms. I've been traveling when we're abroad. And they're not doing anything that's me thinking, we need to get up to that level.
Yeah.
I think in a couple of years you'll see, and particularly with these young guns coming through at the moment, 5, 6, 7 years from now, we'll have this conversation and we'll run it back, and you'll be saying, you were right. And I'm confident we'll have some high-profile champions as well.
Yeah, I can't wait to see the future, mate, for it. I really can't. It's
fingers crossed, if it continues in the same trend as it has for the last 5 years, we'll be all right. All right.
Could you put a name on who do you think's going to be next out of your camp to go into the UFC?
We got some talented pros here at the moment that are still young in their career. We got Oban Elliott, who lost his last fight, but obviously I won't go into the details, but did have some health issues. He'd be moving up a weight, and we're still waiting to see if he can actually fight again. That's a reality.
I've seen that online.
And that's for Oban to tell the story on that, not me. But we got hospital appointment now in December where there's some tests going to take place. Fingers crossed if things work out positive, as I'm really hopeful because we've sought advice off different people. There's no reason, if we have the positive and the green lights around these certain issues, maybe March, April, we'd be looking at him coming back. I've got Jordan Peake again, has had no luck with injuries. He broke his shoulder. He was preparing for a Cage Warriors bout back beginning of the year and broke his shoulder. So he's just had an operation. He's still in rehabilitation. He's another talent. And again, he's lost his last fight, but sometimes these losses, all these kids need to move on to the next level. If you want to talk about some of the amateur teams, I got a couple of boys just turning pro, Scotty Pedersen, Jack Tucker, two lads with all the capability in the world of going as far as they want in the sport. Josh Reed puts a couple of wins together. No reason why he couldn't get a UFC contract either. He's not had a lot of the rubber. If you watch that Nathaniel Wood fight with Josh, one punch could have meant Nathaniel had gone out, and it could have been Josh on the back end of a UFC contract.
I know, that was so close. It was literally like from one end to the other with that fight.
It's the most viewed fight in Cage Warriors history.
Is it? Yeah.
I think it's had like 30 million views.
I'm not surprised either. It was you couldn't believe it. It was literally, you were thinking, he's done it like.
Yeah, Josh is fighting now 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Yeah. 2 weeks tonight. 2 weeks
is it?
Tonight,
yeah. Is it getting?
Yeah, Liam Gibbon, tough guy, good guy, comes from a good gym, really good stand-up fighter. Be interesting fight. It's a 50-50 fight. That's how we've always taken these fights. But I'm confident if Josh turns up and is 100%, we'll come away there with a win. But if we talk about the youngsters coming through, I've got a few amateurs that I'm really positive about. I got a guy called Levi Batchelor that trains like a professional, works with the professionals. I could stick him into the professional division now and he'd have no issues at all. But again, he's been hit with the amateur scene this year, so I'd like him to have another year of banging out some amateur fights. I've got a guy called Kenzie Jones, another guy that's going to be an elite level athlete. You watch these guys sparring with Jack and Brett, they're not that level, but they're managing to give him competitive rounds, and they're 19 years of age. I've got a kid, another kid, they're 19, he's 18, I think, Kane Darcy, Jack Beasley. These are lads that are going to now have a couple of good years at amateur, and I think we'll see really well-rounded fighters. And I've got one lad, and I bring him up every interview I do, and it makes his head swell. But Johan Thomas, he's a 15-year-old kid. He's 76 kilograms now. He's had a growth spurt the last 12 months. And I would, if I stuck him in a blue belt British Open Championship now, I'd be comfortable in becoming top three, if not winning it. Yeah, he's that good. He's that good. And he's a good all-rounder. Like, he wrestles with the pro team. He does the striking with the pro team. He's there 6 days a week. He lives and breathes it. And I've done this before where I've said this kid could be the next thing, and the drink and the women come along and priorities change. But I think this kid at 15, he's got a mindset which is unbreakable. You can't break him, He's I think he's destined for great things, Johan. And if he stays on this path, he could be one of the biggest names out of the UK ever, I think.
Well, that's great as well, and that's what he needs to hear, like, from you, innit? Because it's so easy. I know what it's like when you're 18. Like you said, women, drink, that's all you're interested in, isn't it?
It's all about choices. I've had some of the most gifted athletes come through our door over the last 10 years, which, if they had applied themselves, they would be in the UFC, or at least making a career out of the higher level of Cage Warriors or one of the other big promotions. But it's about, what do you want? I can't make them not go out on a Saturday night. I can't make them not go out on a Sunday night. I can't make them turn up to every training session. When their mates are having a party, I hate to use Jack as an example because he's my son as well, but his birthday's in February. He's never been able to go out for his birthday, ever, because he's always had a fight. Since 16 years of age, he's had a fight lined up in March. So he has never he's always been dieting and training for a fight. That's discipline. I can't coach that to somebody. Somebody's got to have that inner desire to think, I'm going to give up everything, because the end goal is this. I'm going to be a millionaire. I'm going to have a career for the next 10 years doing something I enjoy. How many people can say they enjoy going to work? Not many.
No, not many.
Few and far between. How many people go, I'm off to work today. I can't wait. I'm going to have a great laugh. Get paid for it. It doesn't happen.
Not for most.
And the old adage is, if you find a job you love, you'll never do another day's work in your life. And
true.
This is what we have now got an opportunity for these young boys. If they apply themselves correctly, I keep saying to everybody, the sacrifice now, by the time you're 29, 30, you'll have that much money in the bank, that much fame and fortune. You walk in a restaurant, you won't have to pay for a meal. You know, you're going to live the high life for the rest of your days. Your family's successful. Your family's looked after. Your kids, if you're looking to have kids, they're going to have a comfortable lifestyle. It's there for them. But unfortunately, some still have that small valley mindset. So they would rather go drinking. They would rather not turn up. You know what I say? You know, and some of these lads are still working. So it is difficult, and I appreciate that. So they've got a daytime job. So they've got to get up in the morning, go and do their run and strength conditioning, go and work 8 hours, come to the gym then. They got me on their back, screaming and shouting, barking orders. And I understand it's tough, particularly on a November, if you've been working on a building site and it's pissing down with rain and you're freezing cold, and then you've got to get yourself motivated to come and spar and train hard for an hour and a half. It's tough, but you've got to make your choices. Is this a lifestyle you want to pursue? You want to make that sacrifice? Josh Reed works full time. Nobody trains harder. The kid is not had the rub of the green, but his attitude, he's come back from losses. He doesn't sulk. He's back in the gym within a week. And if everybody had like Josh Reed's mindset, I'd have a team full of champions.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, over the last 10 years, fighters have come and gone that have got all the athletic attributes, but not the mental attributes. So give me a fighter that's a little bit less gifted athletically, but has got a strong mindset.
That's where it's at.
And I can coach that person and put them in a position where they can achieve their dreams. But the athletic guy that's got a mindset of, I'd rather go and have a beer on a Friday, so I miss Friday's grappling class, and I'll leave Saturday now because I'm a bit hungover from Friday. I'll have a drink, or I'll go out Sunday now because I've got a hangover, or I'll miss Monday because it doesn't work. And
once it creeps in,
there's a pattern to it. There's a pattern to it.
I know, like, I don't say I wasted it because it's experience, and as life goes on, you take these things and move forward with them. But like just a confidence thing of saying, I don't want to go out and get pissed this weekend. It was more like you just felt like you had to fit in, innit?
Yeah, of course.
So,
and it is tough. And I mean, Jack's got a good circle of friends. He's got a load of rugby guys that he's been friends with since 6 years of age. And they was good few party boys here. And don't get me wrong, the last couple of weeks, he's had a few nights out with them. He's got drunk, and that's great because he's got nothing coming up. But he's still in that gym every day of the week, even though he's had like the weekend. And what will happen then? He'll have Christmas. He'll take a week off for Christmas, and then January, bang, he's focused. And nothing else matters other than that fight. Yeah. And they get paid well for it. This is the other thing, you're earning in a fight what some of the other guys that are in the factory are earning in 3, 4, 5 years of wages. Yeah, come on, lads. If that's not motivation enough for you to think, right, that's what I need to get that next step where the money is, I don't know. I wish I'd had these opportunities when I was a kid.
Bet, yeah, I was going to say, Like,
there was, you were signing for the UFC. The guy signing for the UFC in the early 2000s. I think when I'd done the Dan Hardy interview, I can't remember if he said he was on 3-3 on his first fight.
Yeah.
Dollars as well, that is mine, it's peanuts, isn't it? Because the reality is you're going in, you're going into an octagon, and it's not for everybody. People say, oh yeah, it's not for everybody. You've got to have this mindset where you think, the guy over there now is going to try and knock me out, choke me unconscious, or snap a limb, because his objective is to win this fight and earn more money than I'm going to earn. So it takes a certain character, and that's what I like about our gym, is that MMA is not for everybody. We've got the jiu-jitsu route, or we've got come and do the pads, and you haven't got to spar, or we've got the wrestling. We can enjoy, have a really good workout without getting punched in the face. Or if you don't want to compete in jiu-jitsu, don't matter. You still come train. You still get your belts over the years as long as you're training persistently and consistently. I encourage competing, even if it's only a jiu-jitsu match, because it's a martial art, and one day you may have to deal with a street situation and that adrenaline dump. Like I said, you were my first ever competitive bout. I was terrified. Yeah. If that had happened on a street situation, somebody had come up and challenged me, I'd have probably turned around, because I was never a scrapper. I wasn't somebody who was out on the streets fighting as a young bloke. I was quite a nervous guy. I'd walk away from a situation. Never ever would I want confrontation. But what jiu-jitsu has done for me is that you could bring the biggest, baddest man, and if he's got bad intentions for me, I'll deal with it head on. But a lot of the times, because of the confidence I got in grappling or fighting with somebody, I can usually talk my way out that situation.
Probably lead you out of it.
People will pick up on a confidence.
Yeah.
People will pick up. I know you carry yourself as well. If you've got the ability to walk into any environment and think, well, I could beat any man in this building, you don't need to puff your chest out. You don't need to be staring at people. You don't need to be the loudest. You don't need to be the one grabbing attention. What you'll find is jiu-jitsu, it really develops you as a human being. And I know it sounds cheesy, but it does, because you're mixing with people you would not normally mix with in normal life. And to have somebody like 15-year-old Johan choke you to the point that you've tapped. And, you know, if I hadn't tapped, this was a real, he'd have ended my life. And he's 15.
Yeah.
You know, it's a humbling experience. And also as well, it shows you you're not made of glass. You know, what was the film, Green Street, is it, where he goes, yeah, why are you not afraid to fight? Once you've had 1 or 2 fights, you realise you're not made of glass. And it's true.
Yeah.
You know, human beings have had resilience taken off. We're too soft now. Everything is, it's a softly approach. You know, back in my day, if you was out of order with one of the older lads, they'd crack you round the ear, make your nose bleed, and you wouldn't open your mouth to an older generation guy again. Today, there's no respect levels. And I just think everything is, you know, there's a reason why somebody behaves like an arsehole. There's a reason why somebody's down. Sometimes you've got to look at the bigger picture and think, society in general, we're not where we were 10 years ago, and it's going to get worse. I see it in schools.
It's definitely getting softer as time goes on, and I don't see, because everyone's worried about being politically correct, aren't they?
Agreed. Also, the disrespect, you know, with the police, you know, and the police haven't helped themselves over the recent years, don't get me wrong, but still, when I watch these youngsters, you know, I've been in environments, I think, God, if I'd spoke to a cop like that 15, 20 years ago, he'd have hit me off my feet.
Yeah, not allowed.
You know,
now,
they're not allowed to, you know, and the way they speak, then they got no fear of there's no consequences no more. You mean, there's stabbings the other week in Cardiff. You mark my words, these lads they'll have their day in court, and I guarantee not one of them will be any longer than 12, 18 months. They'll be back on the street in 6 to 8 months. There is no consequence for any poor behaviour anymore. The prisons are overrun. There's people in there, you know, for tax fraud. Should they really be in prison? Even cannabis suppliers, you know. I don't smoke cannabis, but I've got no issue with anybody. It's a plant that's been grown. If people want to smoke that,
I think it's a choice, isn't it?
Yeah. Do we really need to be putting these people in prison? Because there's no room anymore for the real criminals. So you can go and stab somebody, and maybe get 6 months, 12 months. I know you're in, that knife 2 inches one way or the other could have ended somebody's life.
The intention was there as well, isn't it?
Let me give you an example of what's happening in today's society. I won't name names. There's a gentleman I work with, and I won't name names out of respect for him and his wife. But his wife was jogging down by the river in Grange in Cardiff last Wednesday.
Yeah.
And a guy has jumped out of the bushes at 5:45 in the morning and has grabbed her by the neck and tried to push her over the fence down to the river. This is a true story. So she's a fit, athletic girl. She's screamed, she's kicked, she's punched, and she's took off. She's run probably 50, 100 yards, when she was telling me, and she's had a panic attack, so she can't breathe anymore. This guy is steaming up behind her, off his nut, screaming, "You're going to effing die, you're going to get effing raped, I'm going to put you over that fence, don't stay there." She's run again, she's gone like another 50 yards, there's a guy walking, she says, "Can you help me, this guy's going to attack me." He's turned round, the guy's gone after the two of them, he says, "Right, my office is around the corner, come on." As they run in this direction, there's another female jogger running towards the lunatic. They've stopped her, said, "Don't run down there, this guy's chasing us, he's going to attack." They've run in the Holiday Inn because the guy is gaining ground, still screaming, "I'm going to rape you, I'm going to kill you both now." They've run in the Holiday Inn, they've locked the doors, the manager has called the police. This is last Wednesday. So if you imagine now, it's like 6 o'clock in the morning. She's rung her husband, who I work with. He's got 3 kids in the house. He has then had to arrange somebody to come and get the kids so he can go and be with the wife. When he gets there, she's that distraught and in a bad state. He rings the coppers and goes, "Listen, I'm going to take her home. This is the address. We'll meet you at the house." We are 9 days on, and the police have not arrived at that house to take her. They've done the odd phone call. They rung him last week in the evening. Now, for me, surely the guy's DNA is on her.
Yeah.
Right? DNA is definitely on there. So why have they not turned up, took a tracksuit, put it in a bag? I'll guarantee this guy has been in trouble before, 100%. Right? So the DNA will log onto that. They've not taken an interview. So she's not really given a full statement of how he looked like, you know, things which you remember at the day of the crime. They've rang on Tuesday, "Oh, we've checked the CCTV, he's got his hood up, we can't identify him." So he's put a complaint into the police, the proper complaint service with the police. Now, on the other hand, last Saturday in Appleyrie, there's 6 coppers going around every pub to make sure that everybody's social distancing.
What's more dangerous?
Has the world gone mental?
Yeah.
Look at the videos that were doing around, doing the English lockdown, where there's 15, 20 coppers turning up and going into a gym because the guy has got a couple of people training there, and they're arresting people because they've opened up their business. The world's gone mad. There's a guy under a different set of circumstances may have taken somebody's life or raped a woman last Wednesday, and he's still on the loose. But we'll make sure that the pubs are not overcrowded. That's the key, you know. And I just think world has gone mad. World has gone mad.
We're dealing with minute problems over the big problems. It's like it's just picking away at something and not actually dealing with the problem.
I was listening to a podcast the other day. I can't remember if it was James English or Sean Atwood. I'm big into my podcast.
James English class.
And there was an ex-copper on there, and he was saying like they were encouraged to pull young black males in London, in the south of London, because there was always a good chance they'd have some cannabis on them. In their mind, this is what they were thinking. There was certain... So then it would help the arrest figures, because they're all governed by figures now.
Yeah.
Everything, schools, police, they're all governed by you know, they've got targets to achieve. It's ridiculous.
You can falsify that so easily.
There shouldn't be a target on crime. You shouldn't go, let's make sure we have 100 arrests this year. If you have 2, that means society's doing all right. It's good, you know. So then these poor lads, not bothering anybody, they've got a bit of cannabis on them, they're smoking a bit of weed, you know, that doesn't make them a criminal or you know, somebody that's out to do any harm to anybody. But we'll put these guys in prison. You know, and we'll fill up the spaces, and we'll concentrate all the police on it, because that'll help us. So I still can't get my mind around that this friend of mine has not been interviewed.
Well, imagine now, like,
if I told that story to somebody, I bet 9 out of 10 would think he's making that up.
How does she feel right now? Because
it's stress. She's upset,
scared.
It's knocked her confidence. Not my confidence in the police, I'll be honest with you. I once got told, I worked as a retained fireman once, and the chief fire officer said, listen, mate, if you ever have any problems in the house, burglars, ring 999, say the house is on fire, because within 10 minutes, 4 burly men are going to turn up at your door. You ring the police, it could be an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And I took that, I'll take that to the grave with me. So if I ever get burgled, I'm ringing, I've got a burglar, I think he set fire to the house.
Mate, it's so true. Like, you see it all the time. Like, I don't know if you watch, like, any of these programs, like, fucking hell, Border Force, like any of these things, like 999, and all that. I every now and again like stick that sort of stuff on.
I enjoy it. It gives you it's real life. I enjoy anything that's real life.
Same, and like the paedophile hunter and all that. Yeah. And you see him catch these people who are blatant like scum of the earth, and they're given like 6 months.
Don't start.
And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like,
we watched one back a couple of weeks ago. And this traffic cop has pulled over a guy on the motorbike. I don't know if you've seen this one. So he's got his body cam on, and obviously the front of the police car films. And the guy's gone off, why are you pulling me? He says, no, mate, you've come up on my, what's it called, APN, isn't it?
ANPR.
He says, it's saying that you've got no insurance. If you can just provide the insurance, you're on your way. You don't need to be and it was a young cop, but I'd have said 22, 23, not you know, not physically imposing in any way. And the guy's getting more and more aggressive, Look, right, in a moment now, I'm going to have to ring for backup because you're becoming aggressive. All of a sudden now, the biker is like rugby tackled the cop to the floor. He's in between his legs, what we call guard in fighting terms. He's headbutting him, he's punching him. There's 2 citizens have like run across, have tried to restrain him. So there's 3 of them holding on to him. He's done this call. They do a call when you really believe your life is at risk. I can't remember. It's a call that goes out.
I've heard it. I can't think of what it is.
As it was, a community copper has happened to come around the street. He's run out. So there's now 4 of them. This guy he's punching him. He's trying to bite him. He's trying to headbutt. And it's on video. So I'm sat there with my missus going, "God, this guy's in trouble. He's going to have 5-6 years for this, right?" Because he always give the sentence at the end, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Suspended sentence.
Oh, that's nuts, isn't it?
So,
like
unprovoked attack on the police. And like they've interviewed the cop after, and he's like, "Yeah, I was expecting a custodial sentence, but you know, at least he's been convicted." And
of what, like, innit?
Of what? Of what? Now, that mindset of that guy is, I'll bang another cop, but they don't put you in jail. This is what I deal with some of the behavioural with kids. So in school, something serious will happen, they don't get excluded, or they've been arrested outside, and they put them on a 6-week educational program, and they'll come and they go, "The thing is, sir, you know what are they going to do? They make us go on this course an hour. They take us paintballing, or you know, there's a reward if you know."
Yeah.
Which I understand the logic behind it, but sometimes you need that, you know, like they used to do back in the day, a short, sharp shock. You know, don't put them on a youth offending course where they sit over a table and they discuss. So why did you mug that fella and take his watch in the middle of the car? No, have him out, put into some hard task and some hard labour, and painting fences or going around some old woman's house and saying, right, well, what do you need doing? There's so many positive ways you could deal with these kids and educate them and get them in. But no, what happens is they fall into the mindset. I got youngsters saying to me, "What are you going to do when you leave school?" They go, "I'm going to be a drug dealer." Right, point blank. That is their career aim. Right, you're going to be a drug dealer. Listen, you're going to end up in prison. It's not a successful story. Go through the history of time. there's always something is going to go wrong in this in his career. Yeah, but John from Ely, he's driving around in a 25 grand car. I know he's pulling about 50 grand. He's only ever done 12 months in jail, so I'll take 12 months in jail because I'll earn 50 grand a year on the rest of it. And it's difficult to break that mindset. I don't condone... I don't condone the drug dealing and all the rest of it, but I understand that these kids are coming from backgrounds where mum and dad have got drink and drug problems and there's no money, you know, they don't have a coloured television in the house and they haven't got an Xbox like some of their friends. Then all of a sudden they can pop out on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday and earn 200 quid a night. You know, I'm not condoning, but I understand how they end up in this life. It's
normalised for them, isn't it?
Of course it is. Yeah. And because of the softly approach, they constantly think they'll get away because there'll be no consequence. The reality is, like last Saturday in Cardiff, the consequence is somebody's going to stick a knife in you because you're in that circle and you're in that lifestyle, you know. And until I think we start putting the right people in prison for the right reasons, not average Joe because he's fiddled some tax. It's nuts. It doesn't make sense to me. But until we start putting some more firm, hardened consequences in, I just think the youth of today is going to get worse and worse and worse until all of a sudden we're at a point of no return. Yeah, and
what do you do at that stage then? Because it's definitely... I like to think things are going to turn around, personally, you know, look at it positively, but...
I would love for everybody to have to come and train in an MMA gym.
Yeah.
Because like I said, we've got all walks of life there. They can talk to the guys that's been to prison or the boys that were living the wrong lifestyle. They can look at somebody. You know, we got a lad, really talented guy with us, Grant Elliott, who's a school teacher, and Grant's a school teacher because he's such a savage on the mat. They can't believe it. He said, "Yeah, he's a school teacher, so you could do that." You know? And we got a real good program in now with the youngsters where we've had some tearaways, but they're really doing good things now and positive things, and they got good people around them. But unfortunately, and it hasn't got to be MMA. You know, it can be anything. But like what happened to the youth clubs and you know, these type of things? And when I was a kid, when you done PE, when I was in secondary school, you'd have one or two people didn't do it. Today, probably half the class doesn't want to do it.
Yeah.
Because it's a nation of sat on their bed playing Xboxes, not encouraged to go out. They're not out. Plus, today's society is changing. You know, would I let my kids up the park maybe at 8 or 9 now? I probably wouldn't, you know. But it's trying to get that balance right, isn't it?
Yeah. It's trying to like turn it around at some point where there is trust in the community and everything. Yeah. Like my youth worker, when I was growing up, like Mo, you remember Mo Al, didn't you? Like, yeah, she was like, for me, like, I did like my work experience there for school and everything.
Yeah.
And like, that really, it was like a proper insight of like what's possible and all. And she was really helpful. And just having someone like external be able to guide you, like really helps. And like, they're just, like you said, the youth clubs are closed down. Like
I've done it from experience. When I was 15, I was up to no good. I didn't have a father at the house. I was in with my mother and my sister. I left to my own devices, to be honest. I'm probably in with some dodgy characters, and all of a sudden you're at this crossroads. So I could have gone there. I never had no money. Do you know what I mean? So the boys would go shopping. They'd jump on a bus. We go to Blackwood, and they'd be buying. I think, Christ, I haven't got no money. Do you know what I mean? But so I never had a penny. You know, my nan would chuck us, and I'm not knocking my mother for that. You know, she had 2 kids to bring up, was trying to keep a roof over her head. So I remember seeing a local businessman, and this man is still somebody that's a really good friend to the day. And I think probably if I had never met him or been given the opportunity, my life could have been a lot different to what it is now. So he was running, you know, the arena nightclub I'm on about that. We had the first gym in. It was a snooker centre before it became a nightclub, and he was the owner. So I said, "Have you got any jobs?" His name's Pete Ferguson. "Any jobs? What are you going to do? How old are you?" I said, "I'm 15. "What are you going to do for me?" I goes, he's from Leicester, so he's got this like broad Leicester accent. "What are you going to do for me, boy?" I go, "I don't know. I'll come and wash your glasses in the pub." I don't know. I just said, "Tell you what, I'll give you a job." He said, "I'll give you a job for your cheek." Yeah. He said, "Can you work Friday?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "You got shirt and tie?" I said, "Well, I got my school shirt and tie." Trousers. He goes, "Oh, it's no good. It's no good." He said, "I'll get you a shirt." He said, "You pay me back out your wages." "Oh, all right." So he knock on the door, and he stood at the door, and fair play, he gives me a shirt. So I turn up for work, and I've got a pair of my school trousers on. I've got this shirt, and I've got a tie, and I've got my white socks on and my black shoes. So I turn out, "What the F have you got on your feet?" I said, "What do you mean? Can't wear white socks with black trousers and black shoes. That's got to change." I said, "I don't own no black socks." Buys me some socks. So start doing this job. It's £6 a night, which for me back there was a fortune. So I'm collecting these glasses and washing them. Gives you £6 in a paper. "Do you want 2 nights? 2 nights, 12 quid a week." "Yeah, brilliant." So he was aware of who I'm around, and you know, it's a small community. Everybody knows. He pulls me. Is he taking drugs? I wasn't taking drugs, but there was boys in our circle that were. You know, it wasn't big back then. It was cannabis, bit of weed. No. Right, let me tell you, I catch you taking drugs. I promise you, he said. This job will come to an end. I'm not having it. And he just took me under his wing, you know, and give me some like advice about being a man. Do you know what I mean? And if there was a night out with the doorman and all the people that worked in this club, he would take me at 15. Then give me 3 nights. And when on hindsight, he was probably looking out for me thinking, if I give him 3 nights, he's not hanging around on the Foundry Bridge and mingling with the wrong people. Then he gave me a pay rise. Then he put me in and taught me a little bit of self-value about like working hard, you have a reward, and you know, there's ways of making money without getting into trouble. You know, I could have quite easily be out there shoplifting and robbing and nicking cars at 17. You know, I got a group of friends that were making a good living out of stealing and ringing cars, you know. So I try and use like my experience with him as well. I'm trying to be with these youngsters as they come through now. I try and just guide them in the right direction. But I often believe that, you know, if I hadn't met Pete, and I see Pete weekly now, he lives just down the road from me, and we have a laugh and we remain friends, and I could tell you some stories that you wouldn't want to hear, you know, as well. But
sure,
because he was a tough, rough and tough wheeler dealer type of guy, you know. But he wanted best for me, and I'll always respect him and thank him for that. But that's the case now. I was very fortunate that somebody took me under their wing and pointed me in the right direction. And a lot of these kids don't have that, you know. A lot of these kids that I went with, they've not got a father figure, or if they've got a father figure, he's not the best role model in the world. And I just think as a gym or as a sporting index, there's so many older guys that can take the youngsters under their wing and keep them in the right direction. And I think that's what's lacking now today in society. And also the word no. Say no to people, you know. No. Yeah. It's not a bad thing. You know, too easy with handing things out, you know. How many parents, can I get on the Xbox? No, you've... go on, one more. You give in too easy, and it's human nature, you know. Yeah. Sometimes you've got to be cruel to be kind.
And like, for me, you know, I'm not responsible for anyone or anything, but like, you're responsible for yourself. Yeah. And it's easy to do that to yourself as well. Agreed. You know, like, it's easy for me to sit down and scroll on my phone for hours and whatever, but I'm like, I need to earn these things, like, you know, because otherwise you don't have no respect for yourself, and like, that's what people need to have instilled.
And that's the problem. Nobody takes responsibility. There's always a reason for poor behaviour. There's a reason why you say, no, take responsibility. You made that choice. You know, I've had some. I've been in trouble, mate. I don't paint up to be anything. I've been in some serious trouble, and I've held my hands at the time, going, that was my choice. I made that decision. You know, I don't look to blame anybody, but you learn from it. You know, and I've had a tough old upbringing, a tough old life. I don't feel, you know, would you change? No, I wouldn't change anything, because it's molded me as a man, you know. And it's also given me experiences where I can relate. Like when I'm working in the school and the kids come in and he start, you know, some of these teachers, and I'm not knocking them in any way or form, but they've come from a middle class family, so they've lived in a detached house in the suburbs. They've never had to deal with the local drug dealers hanging around on the end of the street, and they've never had to deal with poverty. But I can relate to these kids and I can have these conversations, and it works. And I think that's why I've been so good at the job. Do you know what I mean? Because there's nothing they're saying that's shocking me, and the majority of stuff I think I went through as a kid as well. So this is what I would do. You know, these are people that can help you. But unfortunately, in life, you've got to start taking responsibility. And the kids of today, they don't have to, because they spoon-fed everything.
Yeah, it's okay. It's going to be okay.
It's okay. Oh, he's robbed some couple in the middle of Cardiff and took their watch and their wallet, but it's not his fault. You know, he's come from a tough background, so we'll just cut him and give him some rewards. It breeds contempt.
Like, there is, obviously, that has been caused by something, maybe.
100%. But
let's address it.
Let's address the problem. There's the problem. Maybe let's take this kid off his parents and put him in a family home with somebody who's going to look after him properly.
Yeah.
You know? So...
But they need to still understand it's wrong, isn't it? You can't...
It is wrong. It is. And that's why we work well at the gym, you know. They can speak to Marshman that's been in trouble and turned his life around, you know, and had a career in the army and a career in the UFC. They can talk to quite a few lads there that were on the wrong path, but through the gym have now got really successful jobs. They can talk to people that were borderline going to prison and were given a suspended sentence and then made that choice to, right, not going down that road. But the kids themselves, you know, you've got to build them. Resilience is a key one for me, and it's a word I use in school a lot. There's no resilience. It's too easy. we'll have kids come off the offending service, you know, and they relapse to I can't do no more, I can't do it. Just get on with it. It's tough. You know, see when they're sitting in an exam, doing their GCSE, they'll write their name, I can't do it. Try, give it a go. You know, you don't know until you try. Yeah. But it's such a culture of, I'm going to give up. And that's not just in martial arts, it's in life. You know, I'm not going to do it no more. It's too tough. Life is tough.
Yeah.
You know, have a bit of resilience, get your head down, tackle it head on, and let's move on.
Totally agree with you. And I think you've got to build it in as well. Like, it doesn't just happen. Does it? Do you know what I mean? You've got to, like...
No, it's... Like experiences create resilience. Yeah. I'm a great believer in that, but dealing with those experiences as well. We
as a culture have had it, like, so easy that it's not, like, necessarily naturally built in, is it? Like, I watch loads of podcasts as well, like, and... like from watching them, I realised like how weak I've been at times and stuff. It makes you reflect. And
of course it does.
Every so often, like I'll make sure I've got something really hard planned in, like an ultra marathon or something. And like, look at me, I'm no ultra runner. Do you know what I mean? But like, it's getting up and doing it.
Test yourself. That was like, you know, when I started doing the martial arts, people go, "Oh, you never stick that man. He's not a fighter and all the rest." And I had quite a successful, you know. Period, fighting MMA, fighting jiu-jitsu tournaments, you know, I won numerous titles. But I think then that led to so many people wanting to come and train with me, because, well, if he can do it, you know, it can't be that hard, is probably what they were thinking. You know, he's not some big, burly, physically imposing guy that's smashing people out on the street left, right, and centre, and then he's turned his hand into fighting. I was like somebody who was never in trouble, you know, I was afraid of conflict. I was nervous, like I said to you earlier, I was nervous about things. If it was problem in the pub, I'd probably walk away from it. You know, I didn't want no conflict. But it's just built me as a person. But those experiences then has learned me to think, well, right, do I want to spend the rest of my life being anxious, being nervous? No, let's try a competition. And like I said, the buzz and the adrenaline off it was better than any drug you could take. And I just wanted more and more and more. I buzz off a loss. As long as I'd done well and given a good, I think, well, I'm still alive.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
The sensation and the feeling that was second to none, you know. So that's why I think, and it's not going to be fighting, it can be anything. Push yourself, go out of your comfort zone. We've got a saying up on the gym wall that says, comfort zones are where dreams go to die. And it's spot on. Marshman sent to me once years ago and said, look at this, and I've lived and died by it. It's bang on. Take yourself out of that comfort zone. I tell you straight, when I'm in school and I've got to dress appearance, I hate it. Right? If you said, right, Rich, you're going to stand in front of 2,000 people now and speak about the UFC and speak about, I could sit there and ask me to stand in front of a group of parents and talk about like the behaviour policy. I start sweating.
Yeah.
I'm trying to stop my legs shaking and, you know, try to keep my voice from starting. But I've done it a few times and, you know, it's run of the mill for me now. But
becomes normal.
When I first started doing it, honest God, the sweat be dripping off my chin like I just done 20 minutes on the running machine.
Yeah.
But because I was uncomfortable. But you know, you've got to put yourself in these pressure situations in life. You know, do things, you should once a week do things that you're uncomfortable with.
I think so, yeah.
As long as it's not impacting or hurting anybody else, you know, but still do things, you know. Think of something, think, don't really want to do that, but try it. Try it.
Well, I always feel like there's like a line in there, and once you go through that discomfort, that's where the benefit is.
Yeah.
Like if I go to training and I'm just going up to that line, I'm not really gaining anything. Like,
no, agreed.
And,
I've travelled all around the country. There's a lot of people, you know, there's a stigma where people from certain gyms won't go to other gyms. I've travelled all over Europe. I've gone to Sweden. I've walked into a jiu-jitsu club, and I've got no ego. I'm a 49-year-old man. If some young pervert submits me, I don't go from thinking, oh God, I'm a black belt. It's age, it's physical disabilities in my knees and my shoulder. But I don't have an ego, and I'll go anyway, and I'll jump on the mat and I'll spar with everybody. Because, again, it's taking myself out of that comfort zone, you know. I can go to my gym and probably have not as tough an experience because the lads look after me a little bit. You know, they'll know my right knee will pop out if you push in a certain direction, or they'll think, well, he's 49, they'll get, he's still on the mat, but we'll take it easy. You go to a gym that's unaware of who you are, and you walk in there and you're wearing a black belt, and let me tell you, everybody on that mat wants to kill you, regardless of your age.
Yeah, just to try and get one over.
I went to Sweden, jackboxed in Sweden, and I've done some internet research, and I found this gym. So we travelled for like 14 hours, a killer trip. We've got to the hotel. I've said, right, I'm going to get a taxi. I'm going to go to this gym. And I've literally put my case down. He stayed there. I've gone a taxi, 20-minute drive. I've walked in. Must be 40 people on a mat. Masses of brown belts and black belts. And I woke up the next day and I felt like I'd been in a real fight because everyone on that mat wanted to try and submit me because I was from a different gym, because I was wearing a black belt, But those are the experiences that make and break you as a person, and I enjoy those experiences. I enjoy being out that comfort zone. I do enjoy a bit of confrontation, not in a physical manner, but I enjoy it a bit, And if I lose a debate, I enjoy it. I think, he's had me there, I go away and reflect on, right, so I need to learn a little bit more about that subject then, maybe, because sometimes, we can all be a little bit opinionated and not really be experts in that field.
If there's nothing left to gain, then feels like there's no point in it, and there's always levels.
Yeah.
So self-improvement, there's no end.
I'm 49 years of age. I go to every Thai class with him. I learn. Even though I'm 49, certain things I can't do because of my injuries with my knees, with kicks, but I work as hard as any of the 20-year-olds there, and I treat myself as I do the 15-year-old that's just come through the door, and I respect him as a coach. Same with the wrestling. I'm constantly learning off Carl, and even with my jiu-jitsu, I got two instructors down in Bournemouth, in Jimmy Johnson and Michael Atkinson. When I go down there, I haven't been able to go down this year, go down a couple of times a year, and I'm learning. I'm constantly evolving, So I'm never in that comfort zone, never standing still. I'm always trying to improve. And again, when I talk about trying to improve in jiu-jitsu, that should carry into life. You should always try to improve as a person.
Yeah,
100%. It's been great for me working in schools around people that probably normally would never have been around, and learned things off them and understood different ways of life. I'll be honest, working in Cardiff, I've come across all different sorts of religions, different cultures, and the last 12 years working in, schools and dealing with Sikh families or Muslim families, Catholic families, has really built me as a person, because a lot more understanding on things in life, so
we are sheltered.
Yeah, we are. I think I think it's important that we're always progressing, and I'd like to think that I keep learning right up until the day they put me in a box.
Yeah, and I think that's the best mentality to have, isn't it? Because you're never going to know everything.
No.
And
sometimes my wife will tell you that I think I know everything. But, she is right.
She knows everything.
she is right. I don't. But she, sometimes I get carried away a little bit.
Right. Well, I think we're going to leave it there, Rich. I think the time is up, but thank you very much for coming in, mate.
No problems. Thanks for having me in, mate.
I'd love to catch up again in the future, and
we'll do it again. Let's get some fights out the way, and we'll have a little bit of something to talk about.
Definitely, yeah. I don't know if you want to tell people where to find you.
We're based in Aberbeeg in the Glando Industrial Estate in Abertillery. Show Mix Martial Arts. You can find us on Facebook. Just type in Show Mix Martial Arts. Instagram @Show Mix Martial Arts. And Twitter is just myself at Richard Shaw MMA, I think it is. I'm not sure.
No worries, mate.
Anybody interested in training, drop us a message. And like we said, we got something for everybody. Kids classes 8 to 16, adult classes 16 and above. And if you just want to come and do some fitness, we got the state of the art fitness suite and weights area. So pop in, have a look, and I promise you, if you give it a go, it really will change your life if you come and give it 100%.
Wicked, mate. Yeah, I'll chuck everything in the bio anyway, links to your page and everything.
Appreciate that.
They know where to find you, and thanks very much, mate.
Cheers, Joe. Thanks,
mate.
Fun.
Cheers,
thanks, buddy.
Experience Real Podcast.